Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to break down all of the powers in Starfield and show you which ones are the best. And I'm going to be putting all of the powers into a tier list to make this so much easier. Starting off, we have the particle beam. The particle beam is a blast of energy that deals damage to anybody that it hits. Not much to say about this one. It is what it is. It shoots out damage. It's not really a lot of damage at all. Particle beam is C tier. Almost useless. Next is Supernova. This is one of the best skills in the game. At lower levels, it feels like it does nothing, but at the higher levels, it does quite a lot of damage. The Supernova does more damage than the particle beam, and is an area of effect. It is just so much better. Supernova is A tier. It doesn't quite make it to S tier, because the cost to use it is just too high. Next on the list we have Anti-Gravity Field. Not a very powerful ability by any means, but it can be quite fun. Enemies always seem to float out of the field as well, so it only really lasts about 2 seconds, even though you can see the effect is still active. Basically means that upgrading it does nothing, because it will last longer, but they'll float out of it. Gravity Field is mid, B tier. The next ability I'm going to talk about is Grav Dash. At lower levels you barely move at all, and at the higher levels you almost move too much in some circumstances. Like, if you see me move here, I just go flying miles away, and it's kind of hard to control, but if you get used to the distance that you travel, then you'll be fine. The other thing that Grav Dash does is after you boost, for a small amount of time, you actually do a lot more damage. It does also save you a lot of walking time, although I would say the cost of this ability is a tiny bit too high. Grav Dash is A tier. Not S tier, because I should be able to spam it. Now, talking about Vacuum. Vacuum does this. It slowly suffocates whoever's standing in it. Would theoretically be bad, but because the AI is stupid, they'll just stand in the middle of it and slowly die. So it's pretty good. Although, I'm going to hit you with the double whammy and select Gravity Well also, and then switch back to Vacuum. And it feels like these should be used together, so that you can have multiple people slowly being enveloped in the vacuum. Very nice. Vacuum is only really good if you use it with Gravity Well, although Gravity Well by itself is a better ability. So I'm going to put them both in B tier, but Gravity Well is a higher B tier. And next is arguably the best power in the game. That's right, it's Phased Time. Level 10 Phased Time is unstoppable. It lets you stop time basically forever. If you don't use any other abilities whilst using Phased Time, you can keep Phased Time actively forever. I know I'm using a Quantum Essence right now, but even without the Quantum Essence, you can more or less just use Phased Time over and over again when you get to level 10. And it is immensely fun to see people go flying when you hit them in Phased Time. And you can pair this with any other ability, which moves all other abilities up a rank as well. That's it, everything is S tier because of Phased Time. Although for now, let's keep everything the same and just put Phased Time in S tier. Next up we have the ability Creator's Piece. Makes all hostiles around you stop being hostile. Can be helpful if you've accidentally aggravated an NPC that you didn't want to, although it doesn't really work like that. And that is why it is our first D tier. Next up we have Precognition. Lets you see the direction that people are walking, something that would be quite helpful in stealthy areas. Although, throughout my over 250 hours in this game, I have deciphered that most enemy NPCs do not move. And as such, the only useful application of Precognition is that you can see what people will say when you talk to them. This is helpful. Sometimes it's kind of a nothing power. I'd say it's maybe like low C tier. And next up, the power with the stupidest name, Sense Star Stuff. A power that I use a lot and is very helpful in stealth sections. Lets you see anybody through walls, except for robots. I get it. Robots don't have star stuff, but it's just annoying. Could have been S tier, but just because of that, I'm giving it A tier. And now we have Life Forced. This ability does damage to an enemy whilst also giving you health. However, I would say the only ability that is only good in its mid-tier forms. At low tiers, it does nothing. At high tiers, it does so much damage, you get no life back. Only at the middle tiers does it seem to give you an appropriate amount of health back. This ability is useful maybe 1 out of 100 times. For me it's useless, but I would maybe put it in C tier. Next we have come to a low gravity moon to show you this next ability, Earthbound. Wherever you are, it makes the gravity 1. This ability is the opposite of useful, whatever that word is. Here I am on Earth, using Earthbound. It makes the gravity go from 1 to 1. E is for Earthbound. The next ability is Personal Atmosphere. It gives you infinite stamina. This is the best ability. Top tier, S tier. The more you level up, the better. And after a certain point, you don't even have to be without Personal Atmosphere. You can have it on almost all the time. Reactive Shield is next, and it repels projectiles and also weakens the ones that don't get repelled. It's pretty good. It's better on lower levels, I think. Is an okay ability, but becomes redundant. I would put it in low C tier. And to compare, here's Moon Form. It does more or less the same thing. It doesn't repel projectiles, but you take 0 damage whilst you're in Moon Form, which is good. It means you won't die, but you also cannot move in Moon Form. As someone that is using a melee build, Moonform is rubbish. I'd put it in D tier. But if you have an actual gun, then Moonform is quite good because you're immortal whilst you're using it. However, it does last maybe a few seconds too long on level 10. I think it's actually better on like the first couple levels. It gets worse because it means it lasts longer. If you like to be standing completely still, then, you know, A tier. But I'm going to put it in B. I'm being generous. Next up we have the ability Inner Demon. You use it on an enemy and a copy of that enemy spawns in and fights for you. It is an ability that's kind of situational. You have to use it on a strong enemy, otherwise, like this guy, they'll just die instantly. It's not really worth it. If you use Inner Demon whilst fighting a boss or a strong enemy, it is a good ability to have, although otherwise it's not really useful. So I wouldn't put it right up there, but I'd maybe put it in like B tier, because it can be fun to use against the strong enemies. Next up is Gravity Wave. Gravity Wave is a fun ability to use when it works. It can send people flying, or it can just knock them over slightly. My only gripe with it is that it sometimes won't push objects, and it won't push corpses, which is kind of lame. Why would it not do that? I feel like it doesn't push anything or anybody further when it gets to level 10. I don't know, I honestly don't know what the upgrade is at level 10. I think it maybe costs less to use. I think I can get a few more in before I run out of juice. But honestly, I like the ability, I just don't know why it's not better. Low A tier. Maybe B tier. The next power is Void Form. It makes you invisible. If you're a stealth player, this is great, although it can be very temperamental and seem to just not work sometimes. Although when it works, it is very good. Like that guy had no idea that I just killed that guy right in front of him. Or him. Although I would also point out this could also just be because I have stealth and concealment fully leveled. Plugging this baby into the moist meter, I'm going to give it B tier. Next is one of my personal favourites, Sunless Space. It's an ice ball. It freezes people. It has a small area of effect, so you can use it on multiple enemies. But my favourite thing about it is that it also pairs well with stealth. You can walk behind a frozen enemy and they'll lose sight of you, and you can get sneak attacks. Very helpful, especially on the larger enemies. Instant A tier. We are now in a lush green environment, so I can show you the power that is Eternal Harvest. The only thing this does is let you harvest plants over and over again. This is incredibly useful, although I hate that I had to use this ability so many times. It's lame. Respectfully, C tier. Alien Reanimation. It brings an alien to life that was dead, and it will fight for you. This ability is kind of useful. You can use it on multiple aliens. The only time you'd ever want to bring an alien back to life is to fight other things, but it's most likely that the other things are also going to be dead. You mostly just don't get a chance to use this ability. It would be a lot better if you could also use it on people, but you can't, so D tier. Alien reanimation and inner demon are useless when you have parallel self. It's just another you, and you always give yourself the best weapons. There's not really any downside to using parallel self. It recharges really fast, and at the higher tiers, I almost never see this guy disappear. A tier. Okay, now we're almost at the end, and we're on Elemental Pull. I mostly use this ability to survey planets. You can see I'm currently on 0 out of 5, I use it, and I'm on 5 out of 5. Obviously helps collecting resources as well. I would actually put this in A tier. And now the final ability, Solar Flare. I find Solar Flare very helpful, especially if you pair it with the phase time. Because you can use phase time, and say you're fighting a strong enemy, you can just spam solar flares on them over and over, and I'm almost certain that this does stack the damage. It's the same as using an incendiary weapon where the damage over time stacks. And there you go, he's gone. Very good ability, very nice. I would put this into my tier list at tier A. This is the final tier list of all 24 powers at level 10 in Starfield. Let me know if you think I'm wrong or if I missed anything down in the comments below. Most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye now, and stay freaky, you little freak. You specifically, I'm talking to you.
Thank you for watching.
Bye bye.